Okay, Dillian Whyte's got three choices of his next opponents, two according to Eddie Hearn. Before I get into that, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. That way you get updated when I drop the newest content like this. All right, so Eddie Hearn said he would rather see Deontay Wilder or Andy Ruiz in there with Dillian Whyte next. Trevor Bryan's name was not mentioned, and he did not really care to see the rematch of Povetkin. However, this is how I look at it. To my knowledge, and I could be wrong, so anybody could correct me in the comment section if I am wrong, the thing that made Lennox Lewis special was he actually came back to defeat every person who beat him. So he had two losses, I believe, and he came back to beat them both. I seen Rockman got him, and I can't remember who his other loss was to. I don't want to say, I think Evander got robbed and it was a draw, but they also fight again. I can't remember who the other loss was to. Let me know in the comment section with Lennox Lewis. I know it was Asim Rockman and then somebody else. But anyways, moving on. So with that being said, if Dillian Whyte goes for the trilogy with Povetkin, I don't really mind it at all. The reason why I don't mind it is kind of the same way I felt with Andy Ruiz Jr. and AJ. I felt like they should have had the rubber match. I felt like there should have been a trilogy because Andy won the first time, AJ won the second time. I didn't think either guy was in the best of condition for either fight. And, a third one will really be the telltale of who the better fighter is. Now, there's a little difference when comparing the Dillian Whyte fight to that AJ fight in Ruiz because Dillian Whyte was pretty much dominating Povetkin in both fights. He just got caught in the fifth round of the first one, whereas AJ actually got whooped the first fight. So it is a little bit different in the performance, but the end result was the same. Both guys lost by a knockout loss. So they were both stopped. Now, the reason why I say I don't mind it is because I have seen certain people, certain channels try to spin a narrative saying that Povetkin was not 100%, that because of his sickness, he was never right before he got in the ring. So with that excuse being out there, if they did have a third match, that would dispel all of it because now you would be looking at least 3 months before they get in the ring again. So with 3 months, there's no way people could still claim that. And the thing that I like about Dillian Whyte is, this is why I like him so much. It's because he is a dog. Like, he didn't fight like I thought he was going to fight. I thought he was going to go in there, be cautious, use the jab, use the two, stay away from Povetkin. But he didn't. He had him hurt in the first round, and he was going for broke. He wanted to get that knockout back. He got knocked out. He wanted to give a knockout. And that's what he did. Now, I don't mind the third fight, again, because, Povetkin beat him. He's the only other guy to ever beat him. And if he beats Povetkin a second time, then that's the nail in the coffin. There are no more naysayers who could say anything. So that's why I like it in that aspect. And I feel like it's a fight that Dillian should win after seeing the first one and the second one. I imagine the third one would go pretty much more or less the same with Dillian, just one-siding beating Povetkin. It could be due to age now, or it just may be that Dillian Whyte's got his number. Outside of that, we got Andy Ruiz Jr. and we've got Deontay Wilder. Before I get into those, so I want to say this again too. Or not again, I just want to add this real fast. If you think about it, though, 3 fights with Povetkin, it kind of makes sense because if Dillian Whyte fights AJ, then he beats AJ, he's got to fight him for a third time, no matter what. So, it's kind of the same thing. Like, if he beats AJ, there's another fight with AJ because AJ's going to have a rematch clause, of course. And then, that means he would have beat the only 2 guys who have ever beaten him 3 times. So that's another correlation of why I don't really care if they have the trilogy. Now, back to Andy Ruiz Jr. and Deontay Wilder. Personally, between those two, if I had to pick, I would like to see him fight Deontay Wilder. I would like to do it for all the Deontay Wilder fans who moan, groan, bitch, and complain to me. because I say Dillian Whyte will knock him the fuck out. And not just knock him the fuck out, he'll sleep his ass. I am so confident that Deontay Wilder is going to be counting sheep in his head, laid out on the canvas, that I know I'm not, there's no way I'm wrong with it. There's no way. I'm so confident. Like all my predictions, everything I've ever done, I'm the most confident with this prediction right here, that he sleeps Deontay Wilder. Sleeps him. Doesn't beat him. Doesn't go the distance. Doesn't get a TKO. Doesn't have a towel come in. Doesn't have a referee wave it off. I guarantee you he sleeps him. Because I have watched Deontay Wilder take too much damage from an old Ortiz, and I watched him take nothing but damage after damage after damage after damage against Tyson Fury with no idea how to defend himself. So if he starts getting hit like that, it has nothing to do with his heart. Deontay Wilder's got all the heart in the world, but eventually your chin will fail your heart. And I believe that's what'll happen. He'll be tough. He'll go in there. He'll take the damage, but I just don't think he is skilled enough once the gap is closed. Like I've told people on other channels, Deontay Wilder's going to do all the work for Dillian Whyte. He's going to come with that launching straight right. And once he launches it, if he does not connect, he's already closed the gap for Dillian Whyte. And once that gap is closed, there's nothing he can do to get away from him. There's nothing. He's not good off the back foot. He let Tyson Fury lead him into his right hand all night long by pushing him to the right with the jab. When he was in tight quarters, he had no idea what to do to defend himself, how to move. He was off balance. And it's just, I'm telling y'all, a guy who is a tactician at infighting is just everything bad for Deontay Wilder. And stylistically, I don't think Wilder can beat him. I've never thought Wilder could beat him. And it would just be funny for me, for all them naysayers to just be able to, like when a dog shits on the carpet, rub their nose in it, laugh at him, because I know Dillian's going to get him. Now, the other choice is Andy Ruiz Jr. I want to see how Andy Ruiz Jr. fights in this dumbass pay-per-view that nobody's going to pay for coming up. That's what I want to see first. Depending on how good he looks against Areola will determine if I want to see that fight or not. Because if Areola goes out there and actually makes it a really tough fight for him, then I would say that there are questions about how good Ruiz really is. Personally, I felt like he beat Joseph Parker. I felt like he should have been an undefeated fighter going in there with AJ. But again, it's very hard to train somebody's mentality. They can have all the talent in the world, but that doesn't mean they're going to use that talent. It doesn't mean they're going to utilize it the right way. And we saw once he got on top, once he got a little bit of light shine on him, once he got a little bit of money, he quit his dedication to boxing. Now, I've seen videos where he looks in shape, and that's fine. That's good. But I don't know how in shape he's actually going to be, and I don't know how good he's actually going to look. He's one of them guys who folds. I wouldn't say folds under the pressure, because he didn't do that. He more or less, he's one of the people where it's hard to run 10 miles when you wake up in silk sheets. That's him. So I don't know how he's going to look, and I don't know how good he's going to be. I would assume with him being over there with Canelo, Ryan Garcia, and all of them, and we don't edit. We do not edit. And Reynoso's in. Jim, what is wrong with me, guys? And Reynoso's in. That's right. He's going to go get a nightcap, get in the hotels. No. Reynoso's Jim. I don't know how good he's doing because, I'm not there to watch him. So I think this will tell a lot, this fight. So I'm going to hold off on Andy Ruiz Jr. and Dillian Whyte until after that fight coming up. If he goes in there, he whitewashes Areola. That's what he's supposed to do. But I would say, yeah, go ahead, put him in there with Whyte. Whyte lost to AJ. Ruiz beat AJ. So it would be a good measuring stick to see how good Ruiz is and how much improved Dillian Whyte has become. So I like that too. So again, to me, it's all contingent on how he looks against Areola, what type of shape he comes in against Areola, and does he keep himself together after he beats Areola versus just, hitting up the McDonald's and the Burger King again. Finally, to come back full circle to where I began about who I would like to see him fight next. And I know this video long. I still pick Deontay Wilder. I don't think anybody brings you more money than Deontay Wilder. I don't think anybody has a bigger name than Deontay Wilder. And I don't think beating any one of those guys gives you more notoriety than Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder, despite his loss, is still looked at as one of the hardest hitters in boxing by the majority. I have questions about it, but the majority of the people, especially casual boxing fans, will say that Deontay Wilder, if he is not the hardest hitting puncher in boxing, he's up there with number 2. Because they're going to say it's him or AJ, more than likely. So that's how I see it. You get more popularity, more notoriety, more money, and, being that Deontay Wilder is still high ranked in the WBC, it just more solidifies your mandatory slot with the winner of Fury and AJ if they actually fight. Now, if Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury do not fight, then that's who he needs to fight next, Tyson Fury, hands down, period. Get him in the ring. Don't take any more fights, especially ones that you could lose. Get your title shot and then go from there. But that's how I see it. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section. I appreciate y'all dealing with me stumbling over Reynosa's Inn, where you could go have a nice little nap. There's a bed in the back of the gym. But I appreciate y'all sticking it out with me. Thank y'all again for listening.